I'm Izzy Pemberton, and I'm Jason. And our question is, what's the economic consequences of a falling birth rate, and what approaches can be taken to mitigate these? When you've got people like Elon Musk tweeting about the dangers of population decline, you know it's bad. Falling birth rates, also known as declining fertility rates, are a global trend where the average number of children per woman is decreasing. This phenomenon has significant implications for societies worldwide, impacting demographics, economies, and social structures. The number of births in England and Wales has been declining over the past decade, and is at its lowest since 1977, as well as the average age of first-time mothers being at an all-time high. These trends leading to concerns about the long-term impacts of the UK's population and economy. The ONS found that fertility rate across England and Wales fell to 1.49 children per woman in 2022, down from 1.55 in 2021. To maintain a population, its replacement rate needs to be at least 2.1 children per woman, according to the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development. There are many causes that lead to a decline in the birth rate. Careers. Over the past 40 years, the UK has seen an almost continual rise in the proportion of women in employment. The employment rate among women of prime working age, around 25 to 54, has increased from 57% in 1975 to a record high of 78% in 2017. This predominantly reflects an increase in full-time employment. 44% of women aged 30 have children, compared to the 58% their mother's generation had, then compared to 81% the generation before, according to the Local Government Association. More women are pursuing higher education and careers, leading to delayed or reduced childbearing numbers because of a lack of time. Financial pressure is also another large factor in the declining birth rate worldwide. In the UK, the cost of raising a child and supporting them to the age of 21 has reached over 230,000, making it more expensive than the average semi-detached house, according to research by the Centre for Economic and Business Research. This is a large deterrent for people as they may be unable to cover these costs. Changing social norms. There's a shift towards prioritising personal goals, career aspirations, and experiences over traditional family structures and large households. Same-sex relationships are becoming more common, influencing family size and structure. Family planning. Increased access to and the use of contraception has enabled individuals and couples to better control their fertility, resulting in less chance of unexpected pregnancy, further decreasing the number of unplanned births. So what's the economic consequences to falling birth rates? Shrinking workforce. Fewer births mean a smaller pool of potential workers in the future, and in turn a smaller workforce. Economic growth is the growth in GDP of a country over a period of time. It's affected by the ability of the economy to supply goods and services. If less people are working, then this leads to a decrease in output, a fall in GDP, and therefore a decline in economic growth, as it's the factors of production, in this case labour, that are used to make goods and services. A smaller workforce means the quantity of labour available decreases, which can lead to labour shortages in various sectors, drawing a more inelastic supply of labour, or in some cases a smaller workforce could lead to increased compensation for workers. In the short term, labour shortages could drive up wages, benefiting workers but potentially increasing costs for businesses. This was evident after Brexit, as many Eastern European workers returned home, meaning a fall in labour supply. A big wage increase in certain sectors, such as HGV lorry drivers, could be seen, averaging a 27% increase. Consequently, the firm experienced high cost of production and charge high prices. However, this is not always guaranteed, and it may also be offset by other factors such as automation or increased productivity through other means. Some economists argue that fewer young people entering the workforce could mean a smaller pool of innovators and entrepreneurs, potentially slowing down technological advancements in productivity growth. This means that shrinking workforce can also reduce overall capacity for risk-taking and experimentation, that often fuels economic progress. IMF discusses how declining fertility rates can impede economic and social progress by reducing the number of researchers, inventors, and those developing new ideas. Population. Falling birth rates aren't, of course, unique to the UK. Almost every continent has a growing age dependency ratio as average birth rates fall and people live longer. In Italy, the population is set to fall from 61 million in 2017 to 28 million by 2100. In Japan, the population is expected to also fall dramatically from 128 million in 2017 to less than 53 million by 2100. This kind of population decline will have major impacts on society, the economy, tax revenues, and available workers. A prime example of the consequence on the basis of population decrease is the decline in demand for goods and services. There are less people in the market needing or wanting goods, so less will be sold. This could further result in less tax for the government, for example, corporation, as less profit is made, and VAT as less products being sold. This means lower quality of life for all, as less money for hospitals, schools, and other public services like transport, meaning their quantity or standard will reduce. Due to this decrease, businesses will experience a surplus of supply. This may force them to lower prices as they need to sell their excess product as a result. Firms are less likely to invest and expand as they have smaller revenue and profit, promoting less production and falling economic growth. Diagram. As shown in this diagram, a significant fall in the population will lead to a fall in aggregate demand due to there being less people to act as consumers. For example, industries catering to younger demographics may experience reduced demand. Conversely, there may be increased demand for products and services related to healthcare and eldercare. Businesses may need to adapt their offerings and marketing strategies to cater to an older population. However, these impacts will only be seen if the population declines, which may take time due to longer life expectancy. In some cases, falling birth rates can affect property prices as demand for housing may decrease for smaller population. Pressure on government. We must also consider the fiscal implications of declining fertility rates, which should affect government revenues and spending, potentially requiring adjustments to tax policies and public services. With fewer births, the proportion of older adults in the population increases, leading to aging populations. Less young people relative to old people can lead to higher dependency ratio, meaning a greater burden on the government to support the more dependent population, which includes the elderly. More money is required to be spent on healthcare, social care, and pensions. This increased demand for social services can strain public resources and reduce government spending on other essential factors such as education and public transport, reducing quality of life for many. At the same time, the government will receive less in income tax and national insurance, while receiving less in VAT from childcare products, as well as banks seeing a fall in number of mortgages due to smaller families. As you can see, all of this will put huge pressure on the government, which we can demonstrate by looking at South Korea as an example, whose pension allowance will have been drained out by 2056 since there are so few young people working to pay tax. The South Korean government will run out of money due to their country's birth rate being approximately 1, which is well below the replacement rate. On the other hand, it's possible to argue that the costs of an aging population will be offset to some extent by less spending on education for young people, but the extra spending on health and social care will far outweigh the lower spending on education. Furthermore, according to the Resolution Foundation, schools in England could lose up to 1 billion in funding by 2030, with exceptional falls in pupil numbers, prompting closures as some establishments cease to be financially viable. Reallocation of resources. If the makeup of the population changes, resource allocation will have to change. For example, nursery teachers may have to compare systems, but this is not simple. Many workers will not have the skills needed to easily switch jobs. This is called labour immobility and could result in higher unemployment rates, leading to more government spending on unemployment benefits, spreading tax money thinner when it could be used on stimulating economic growth or other important things such as healthcare. Factors of production will also need to be reallocated, but they may not be suited for alternate use. Schools may be less of a necessity due to high average age, but they may not easily convert to cater to the now older population, such as becoming care homes. This means a surplus in the inessential factors of production. Several schools have been converted into care homes or housing for vulnerable adults. These conversions repurpose existing buildings to meet the needs of growing elderly population and those with learning disabilities. For example, a former school in Kelso, Scotland was converted into extra care housing. So what approaches can be taken? An approach which could be taken to mitigate falling birth rates could be increasing the retirement age. This will lower fiscal savings for the government. According to the Office of Budget Responsibility, raising the retirement age potentially saves billions of pounds in government spending, as it reduces the number of people receiving state pension. Furthermore, extending working hours could boost overall economy by increasing the available workforce and potentially reducing labour shortages, therefore increasing productivity due to increasing size of the workforce. Some studies also suggest that staying active and engaged in work can have positive impacts on physical and mental health. However, some may argue that people unable to work due to health issues, raising the retirement age could lead to greater demand for disability benefits, potentially offsetting some of the savings from reduced pension payments. The UK state pension age has been undergoing a series of increases, rising from 66 for men and 60 for women to 66 for both by October 2020. It's legislated to rise to 67 between 2026 and 2028, to a further increase of 68 planned between 2044 and 2046. But how effective are these changes? Well, the Institute for Fiscal Studies has reported that the increase in state pension age from 65 to 66 led to a significant increase in the employment rate of 65-year-olds. Specifically, it resulted in an extra 8 out of every 10 65-year-olds being paid in work. This directly helps the government finances by firstly reducing pension payouts and increasing tax revenue. Migration. Immigration policies that attract skilled workers can help address labour shortages. An example of a country where migration vastly affects their population is Canada. It has long relied on immigration as a cornerstone of its population growth and economic strategy. It operates a points-based system that prioritises higher skilled workers, including those with specific language abilities, educational qualifications, and work experience in high-demand occupations. There are also provincial nominee programs that allow provinces to select immigrants based on their local labour market needs. As a whole, immigration directly contributes to population growth and replenishes the working age population, offsetting low birth rates and supporting public services like healthcare and pensions. It largely fills labour gaps. Immigrants are disproportionately represented in key sectors facing shortages, such as healthcare, 1 in 4 workers, transportation, nearly 34%, accommodation and food services, over 36%, and STEM fields. In terms of economic contributions, immigrants have high labour force participation rates, contribute significantly to GDP growth, and have high rates of business ownership, creating jobs for others. The result of the government changing the wage limit and regulations surrounding family members and citizenship will be a large increase in immigration, resulting in increased economic growth. Although there are limitations such as opposition towards migration, lack of significant change in high-skilled professions such as engineering because of difficulty translating skills, and insufficient supply of housing. There are many ways in which the government could intervene in boosting the country's fertility rate. For example, adopting pro-natalist policies to encourage women to have children. Governments could offer financial support such as child benefits, tax credits, and subsidies for childcare to ease the economic burden of raising children. Affordable and accessible childcare can significantly reduce the costs and challenges faced by parents. In addition, increased investment in education and training can help improve workforce skills and productivity in the younger generation in an attempt to promote future economic growth. Hungary's government has taken some similar approaches to promote childbirth. Under Prime Minister Viktor Orban, Hungary has implemented very aggressive pro-natalist policies, often linked to nationalist and anti-immigration rhetoric. These include lifetime income tax exemption for women with 4 or more children, subsidised loans for young married couples with portions forgiven upon the birth of children, large family housing subsidies, and state-funded IVF clinics. So how effective is this? Hungary's fertility rate has risen modestly from a low of around 1.0 to 1.6 since 2010. As a more modern approach, we can look to technological advancements such as automation and AI. These innovations may help offset some of the negative impacts of the smaller workforce by replacing gaps in the labour market. Over the long term, population decline can have significant and long-lasting impacts on an economy, potentially leading to slower growth, changes in the structure of an economy, and challenges in providing social services.